Are we live? Are we good to go? Okay, good. Welcome to Breaking Apart, everyone. Finally, we're on our first episode. We're just gonna be introducing what the show is gonna be about, who the hosts are gonna be, upcoming subjects, and why we're doing the show moving forward. So I'm Ruby. I'm gonna be one of your hosts. A little bit about myself is I am a single mom. I am a Latina, so I am Mexican. And the reason I wanted to start the podcast is because, along with
Vanessa. Hi, guys. I'm Vanessa. Continue.
we wanted to go ahead and just build a safe place where people can tell their stories, give their opinions, judgment free. So we are going to have a lot of multicultural conversations based on personal experiences, where people are able to step outside of social media, outside of the typical stereotypes and self-oppression. And we're just going to go ahead and invite people so they can just open up and we can know a little bit more about everyone's like background, ethnicity, and culture in their words, not in the words of the media or the news or he or she told us. So that's a little bit about why I was excited to do the show.
And I'm excited to do it with you. Thank you for having me on. I am super honored to be here. Um, Ruby has had this idea for a really long time, and I'm actually really, really blessed, and I feel really um, honored to be here with her to discuss these topics and these subjects because they are really important, not just to her, but I think a lot of people in in our community, in a lot of our cities, and I am all about speaking your truth. And I feel that there is a lot of people who have a lot to say but don't have the platform. So this is a super safe space, a very sacred space for people to come and be able to discuss the things and say the things that they want to do, and you know, even for themselves to get better, what they did to change some of the things that were kind of keeping them down and stuff like that. So I can't wait. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to continue on this journey. And, this is day one.
Yes. And if you guys can't tell, we're so nervous. And not only are we nervous, but we're scared. And I'm really shook about how big my head looks right now. So I'm trying to focus on the mic and not the camera. But yeah, thank you, Quan. He kind of zoomed me out. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
But we're really, really nervous.
Super nervous.
I think part of being nervous too is, having something like this where people are gonna say things that maybe don't go hand on hand with what is going on in the country. So, for me, my biggest motivation was just the tension between if you're not far left, far right, you kind of don't have an opinion. The division. It's kind of sad that we're putting so much energy into things that we shouldn't be putting energy into. So, with that being said, after so many events and after I've seen so many people express how they feel and the backlash behind it and people viewing people differently, I finally decided to do the show so people can come on the show and just basically talk about whatever they want. And as a Latina, like there's questions that I have, right? There's things I don't understand in other cultures, whether you're Asian or you're Black American or you're Caucasian. Like I have questions that I don't understand. And I feel like there's people out there that are afraid to ask these questions because now you're afraid to be labeled racist or sexist. And I'm okay with asking these questions. I know I'm none of the above, but I do want to understand people. And if we don't educate ourselves and ask questions, then we will forever be blinded by whatever we see, on the media, and everyone starts recording when they feel like it and when it benefits them. So this is just kind of like, I think, a bittersweet and like a platform, including for myself. There's a lot of things I've never felt comfortable talking about, and it's an open door for me also to tell my story. I've never really discussed things in public that I think that I should have been discussing to help other people. And like, I'm willing to discuss those things now that I'm more mature and more able to talk about it.
I'm right there with you, Ruby. For me, I think it's really important to actually hear what people have to say that are actually going through it, living it. I am currently studying metaphysical science, and we learn about religion, and we learn about different cultures, and we learn about different beliefs. And it's really easy for me to say something based off of a textbook that I'm reading. But even in, reading about what I have gone through as, my beliefs growing up, and I'm looking at the textbooks and going, okay, well, it wasn't really like that, even though that's what's written there. So I think it's an amazing thing to be able to to be able to learn from others as well, with the different topics that we will have. And it will be firsthand people that are living it, people who have gone through stuff, and not just, people learning from a textbook, because I really do feel that um, anyone can write about anything, whatever their, um, you know, perception is of something, whatever they think something is. But then there's people who are actually living it and saying, no, 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 that's not even how it is. And I'm also Latina, and there's a lot of things that I've gone through. And when people say things about, Hispanics or, particular Mexicans or something, I'm like, wait a minute, like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not really how things are. But it's something that they read, it's something that they saw, it's something, someone told them. And it's really nice to hear something firsthand. So I'm really, really excited.
Yeah. Also, for me, personally, I think that I'm so tired of college. I'm so tired of like every year, doesn't matter if you're taking history 101 or if you're taking history 102 or world religion or literature. For some odd reason, we can't stick to one book, right? So it's kind of confusing how every year it's a different history book for the same country, right? And the same time period. So it's just kind of like, to me now, I don't know what to believe based on textbooks, and I don't know where to find this information. So, based on those things, is another reason why I wanted to make this a multicultural platform. Um, and with everything going on in the Middle East, like I really wanted to get like Muslim people involved, Jewish people involved, to tell their story, and possibly just like every week is going to open the door to a new conversation. We can go through a couple things that we're going to be talking. If anyone knows someone that would like to come on the show and share their stories with it, we have a whole bunch of subjects that we're opening up. Every Wednesday it will be a different subject, but we will love to have people that actually experience these things, and we're going to go through a list of things and conversations we're going to be having. So if you know anyone, if you're someone, or if you have an idea again of something that you want to see or something that you feel is not being talked about enough, I think yeah, just reach out to either myself or Vanessa, so we can get these conversations, on the show, and hopefully they spread out and other people are able to see it, and hopefully at some point we're able to touch somebody's heart, someone's life who's struggling, or who's dealing with whatever they're dealing with, and bring some type of unity that we're lacking today.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have Vanessa go through a couple of the conversations and categories that we want to go through, just in case anyone wants to or has someone that they would like to tell.
So we're definitely going to be touching a lot of different topics, and kind of like Ruby said, if anyone out there has a topic that we don't mention, call us, write to us, let us know that there's something you want to talk about, and we are completely open. Um, on my end, just a little bit about myself is I am a Reiki master, and I've been doing um, energy work for quite some time now. And but I also have a background in, I was born and raised Catholic. Then I was Christian for a long time, and I have so many different beliefs. And I think I was able to gather a lot of really beautiful things from all of the people that I got to meet, all of the teachings that I was able to be around, and I'm able to use them now in my daily life, in my practice. And for me personally, some of the subjects that I want to talk about is how um, just our own personal state of mind, our own energy, the things that we say affect us on a daily life, whether we are positive, whether we're negative. Do you pray? Do you not pray? All of those things. At the end of the day, they're all the same, except they have different words behind them. And so I want to talk about a lot of mental health stuff, trauma, generational trauma. I would love to touch on poverty, um, you know, women's rights. I would love to talk about body image issues, men and women. Um I mean, there's just so many things that I think are very important for us to talk about. Um, I would something that I have a dear friend of mine who is does foster care, and I would love to have a foster family come in here and just let us know, their experience and stuff like that, because I feel there's so many uh, topics, subjects, things that people are living day to day that they're kind of taboo and they don't talk about them. They're like, no, I'd rather just keep it to myself. It's my business. It's personal. No one wants to hear. Well, there's a lot of people that want to hear because uh, they want to hear a relatable story. They listen to something and then they're like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. I go through that. And I know that because, I have a mentor. And in listening to my mentor, I'm able to go, oh, okay, well, I'm not the only one that's going through that. I'm not the only one that went through that. So, a lot of the topics that we want to talk about are things that, a lot of people might think they're struggling alone, that they're, I guess the word is kind of suffering in silence when they don't have to. And there's so many, people who I feel want to speak their truth and need to. And me as a person who obviously works with energy, I truly, truly believe that when you have something in your heart that you're not releasing and you don't talk about, it does create this, you know, trauma within you. It creates this sadness. It creates like a feeling of not being. understood, and eventually it causes, problems within yourself. So it's really important for me to have people talk about how they feel and expressing themselves. So for me, this podcast is like, when Ruby mentioned it to me, I'm like, oh, I'm all about people expressing themselves. I'm constantly telling people, write things down if you don't want to say it. And, but there's so many people who want to speak up. And this is the perfect platform.
Perfect. That was pretty deep. So me on the other hand, I'm Christian. I do believe in energy, and that's why I believe like when you go to church, there's a different energy. We call the Holy Spirit that moves in you, right? It doesn't matter what kind of week you've had. When you go to church, what happens? Especially at my church, our worship team. Gotta check them out. They're a whole concert, and you just get this energy. So. And that energy a lot of times comes from being around the right people, right? You get encouraged, you get inspired, you become more brave, you become more aware, you feel protected, right? So for me, same thing. We will have foster care conversations in here. We will have a lot of poverty conversations. We're thinking about bringing in human trafficking, military, police. We're thinking about bringing in teachers where they're going through what they're going right now because they might lose their job for not getting a vaccine. And our education system is already failing our kids. And same thing with the nurses, they're going through their battles. So where do they speak of this without being judged? And those are other kind of people that we're going to be coming in. I can't speak for nurses, nor can I speak for teachers. I don't know how they're feeling. I got the vaccine. That doesn't mean that, I should treat anyone different who didn't. Unfortunately, we're in that place now, right? So that's why, like, again, if you can a subject, whatever you want to talk, we will be starting with body image, and it will be broken down in 2 episodes, one for females. I don't like to say woman. Quan corrects me every time. It's my Latina accent. It's woman.
Women.
What is it? Women. Yeah. Females. And then the episode after that, we're going to be talking to males about body image. I think we miss them a lot. We don't really focus on their situation. As a female, I'm personally guilty of this. The whole height thing. One of the first things I look at right after birth chart. So I mean, and we don't focus on them. We don't focus on the expectations we put on men. And for me personally, having a son, I really do want to focus a lot on men conversations, and I want them to talk because we don't give them that platform, right? They have to be a certain way. They have to be the provider. They have to be the hard worker. They have to be this. They have to be 6 foot. They have to be, and it's like that can be draining, and that can also be the reason why they're struggling. Men prisons are way higher than female prisons, even though women make 2 to 1 in men in the nation, right? Like there's more females than men, yet the prisons are still overflowing in men prisons versus female prisons. So a lot of that comes, again, like we're saying, not speaking up, not oppressing all that anger and being taught in our culture for a Latino man. I know like there's a certain way you got to act, or, you have to be, there's a level of machismo that you have to be, or you're torn down by your family and by the females you're dating. So these are all conversations that are really important. Just like, we always judge men because they go for the women who have work done, right? And then we talk down about women who have work done, but it's the same thing when women see men with tattoos. It's like men with tattoos is like the BBL for women. Like, let's be honest, right? But we don't talk about stuff like that. So these are all conversations that we need to have. Like, I know when I see a man with tattoos, like my eyes are just like not even where they should be, right? But we don't say stuff like that, right? A female can call a guy a whole snack and it's okay. But the moment the guy says the same thing, he's a perv, he's X, Y, and Z. And we need to start eliminating those like lines and not just, want to be equal on certain levels, but we need to start figuring out how we can do better all around, even towards our men, which I feel like we have failed. Even, like I said, I have a son. So those are all subjects that I want to have as well. And then, I mean,
Can I say something really quick?
yeah.
When it comes to body image, I can tell you that when I was growing up and I was a teenager, it was mainly women who were suffering that, or girls, teenage girls, trying to look cute, and they had to look their best. And guys, it really wasn't a big deal. Like, a guy could show up to school looking like he just rolled out of bed and nobody really cared. It was more like popularity. If he was popular, it didn't matter. But nowadays, I have a teenage son, and I've noticed that um, the expectations of a teenager now are so high. Like, I mean, now teenagers are totally like, they have to have the latest brands. They have to, things that we didn't even think about until we were like in our 20s. Now teenagers are worried about stuff like that, worried about, what kind of car they're going to drive, what kind of clothes they're going to wear at school, what their hair looks like, their weight, their body, their, just everything. And I think that that is pretty traumatizing when you have to start that young, and you already have to deal with like school and, just being a kid. And now it's like you have to grow up so fast because
You're in
you
comp- you're in
you're in
competition.
competition, and you
Yeah.
have all these girls, who
Are developing and wearing makeup and their belly. It's like I don't. Do schools even have dress codes anymore? Because sometimes I see
I think they
posts
do.
and it's like I'm shook that girls in middle school or high school are wearing. I mean, we were concerned about our dogs dying on our what were they called? Gigapets. Do you remember those? I was worried about my dog not being fed. So in class, I didn't care about what anyone was wearing. All I knew is that my dog was only 2 weeks old and it had died every time I was in class. And that was my only concern, right?
Hmm.
And who had the Pachaco bags and Pogs. Remember the
Yep.
Pogs? Like, who had Pogs and who didn't? And then now it's like, who has a new iPhone and who has the new Jordans and
Hmm.
who has like stuff that's so irrelevant. And you're just kind of like, and the fact that I don't even blame the kids, like the fact that parents are going out of their way to purchase these items, right? And call me cliche or call me whatever, but m- my I'd rather put that money in stocks. My son has that money in index funds. He has that money and other things that are more relevant, right? Because if I pass away tomorrow, it doesn't matter how many pairs of Jordans my son has. He's broke. Period. Right? And I think again, it's the adult's fault. And I feel like because us as adult and our generation, our parents didn't have the money to do that, right? And that is our excuse. That's how we justify it. Like, I never had that. But it's like, okay, did you die? Like, what happened to you, right? I
Hmm.
was hella happy when I had my little lights from Payless on my shoes, and then you would be stumping around. Kids have no more happiness.
No.
Like they're never content ever, right? Like it's like they want $20 in V-Bucks, but then now it turns out that the actual skin was not $20, it was 40, and their whole week just got ruined. And then it's like, what? Like, what are you guys talking about? So but again, it's the adult's fault, right? So it's a trauma that the adults are carrying that are putting our children in a place where we're already struggling as a country. It's gonna be worse,
Yeah,
right?
I'm super guilty of that. Like, I spoil my kids a lot.
Oh,
Like,
so do I. My kid travels like an adult. Are you
I
kidding
know.
me?
I spoil my kids. I mean, I as much as I can. Obviously, like, I'm not gonna. My husband and I are not like, we can't pay our bills because we're buying our kids stuff.
Right.
But um, I do allow, also my teenage son, if he gets some birthday money, Christmas money, and he wants to buy himself something. If he wants to save it, wants to,
We didn't even
what?
get that. Our parents give us $10 out of the
Yeah.
100 or we got for Christmas or birthdays.
I do agree with you on the whole, saving and preparing for your future, which is something obviously growing up we knew nothing about.
Mm-mm.
And my son is going to start working. I use him as an example because he's a
Yeah.
teenager. Um, but as soon as he starts working, then we told him like, okay, once you start having a regular income, yeah, you should save some of your money. Like, don't go out and just spend all of it. And so, um, he agrees with us, and he's like, okay, and we're gonna educate him on that. And it helps because my husband's a financial advisor. So,
Mm.
we have in the home now. So, like, in my home, there's going to be a huge shift in the way we raise our kids, because the way, my parents would be like, yeah, you're right, you have $100 budget for school clothes the whole year, and that
Mm.
was it.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit different for my kids. I'm like, yeah, I want you to have a nice hoodie or,
Right.
stuff like that. But
Like what was a rude awakening for me, and not everyone's gonna get to relate, and why I started traveling a lot. Prior to this, I didn't travel as much with my kid, and I would spend money on other dumb stuff. When The Last Dance came out, The Last Dance, right, basketball, and I was so excited, right, to watch it because I grew up watching sports, right, because you didn't have a lot of money and we didn't have Xboxes, so what did we do? We watch sports, right, and then you had your Denver Nuggets, they were like crazy, tatted up, and then they had the Pistons before that, and then you grew up watching all that, and that was like beautiful, right? Like sitting down with your parents. I mean, sitting down by yourself too,
I'm like,
and like watching that, and like in those memories, right? Like, you had your Allen Iverson, all of that, right? So I'm sitting there hype, and my kid's like shook. He's waiting for Kobe. That's all he knows. He's like, right? So I'm like, are you ever gonna have this moment when you're older? Because I don't really take the time to watch sports with my kid, right?
mhm,
I don't really take the time to be like, this is this person and this is that person, and it's something that I'm so guilty of because sports have given me some of the best memories of my life, right? And I think like the more he's gone to watch the Dodgers this year, because we went to like 6 different states to watch the Dodgers, the more he wanted to be out, the more motivated he was, the more questions he had, the more like I can't wait until I can go back to playing sports. So I feel like even as a parent, we're guilty of not spending enough time with our kids because now we're too busy, right? Even at dinner tables, we have social media. So sometimes I don't take the time with my kid because I'm too busy doing probably something that's not half as important. So when I saw The Last Dance, I kind of was like, are our generation, like, are they going to have such a beautiful documentary where they can look at it and hear the hip hop behind it and see the tension behind the players? And are they going to be able to have that? Or are they going to be like, remember that one time when I couldn't get that skin? And then I'm
mhm.
like, I don't want my kid to have that. I want kids to go back to being kids,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
Like this kid has no scars on his leg. Like I just want to flick him or something because they don't even fall anymore and
Yeah.
it's our fault. So like we need to start shifting that, right? But we have to fix our own trauma because a lot of it comes from I didn't have it.
Mhm.
I'm going to give it to my kid. I didn't do that. My parents used to beat me, so I can't not hit my child. I can't even imagine putting hands on and then all these kids are out there acting a fool and it's like and then we blame the cops cuz the parents didn't do their job.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we need to fix the trauma. We need to understand that it's okay for your kids to not have the last Jordans. It's okay for your kids to not play the Xbox. And it's okay to take time out of your social media to invest in your child.
That's true. That is a long time ago. Uh, my husband and I realized, I think my son was about 8 years old, and we realized that we were all three of us. He was on his iPad, I was on my phone, he was on his phone, and that's all we were doing. And so I was like, okay, this has to stop. So how about we all once like he got home from work, and then my son got a little bit of like screen time. We all had to turn off our phones, and we
Mhm.
couldn't. None of us can go on social media. We did it for a couple months, and we ended up doing a bunch of stuff together. Like we had to think of something to do, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a place where people can start by, pausing their phones, putting
Yeah.
them aside, doing something
And
like that.
watching like things that were special to you with your children. Like Derek Jeter today, believe he got sent to was Derek Jeter was it Hall of Fame? So Derek Jeter had a ceremony for himself today, and it was huge. I know.
I'm like,
He's a Yankee player, amazing Yankee player. And I told my kid, and he was just like staring at me while he was on his phone, and I'm like, get your like if you're googling anything, it better be Derek Jeter and his, like, and he's like, no, actually, I'm doing this like little village and like Roblox, and it kills me, but it's my fault, and it's just like we need to stop like and start doing things with our kids again so they can actually make a difference because we're kind of screwed right now.
yeah, kids are having a really hard time, teenagers, kids. But, with everything that you said, I always encourage people to allow your kids to develop who they are. And also, as parents, we can't. we shouldn't try to live vicariously through our kids. Because I remember like when I found out I was having a daughter, I was like, oh, she's gonna be in dance, she's gonna do this, she's gonna everything
Everything
I
you
could,
wanted to
yeah,
do. Yeah.
everything I couldn't do, I was like, that's gonna be my daughter, you know? And no, she's nothing like me. Like nothing like me, you know? And so I I had to kind of, step aside. She has like beautiful long hair. And I was like, a dream. I'm going to do her hair every day and I'm going to dress her up. And she hates having her hair combed. She just wants her hair
She might be
down.
my kid then.
Yeah, seriously. She's like, sh- hair down, pulls out ponytails. I mean, she just, no, she's not having it. And so I had to, I remember like my husband told me once, he said, you know, the only problem here is really you because she's happy.
Yeah.
You're the one that's mad, so you need to just allow her to not have her hair up and just leave her alone. And so that's where all the fighting stopped
Mm.
because I wasn't chasing her around. She wasn't like screaming and yelling because I was doing her hair. So, even though there's things that I want to teach her, things that like I liked getting my hair combed. I loved having my hair, up and my mom doing stuff to my hair. I love getting my hair braided. She doesn't. And so I had to kind of understand who she is and I have to allow her to be who she is, as well as my son. Even though I had an image in my mind of who I wanted my kids to be.
And
But
with that, that's why next week is so important because back to body image, we put that on our kids, right?
we do.
So, I mean, now you have a generation of girls who there's an expectation, little waist, big butt, big boobs. But then we're like, oh, where did that come from? And it's like, as a Latina, I was like, do you know what Selena looked like? Because that's who we all looked up to. And that she was not flat with no hips. I'll tell you that right now. Or the novelas, right?
Yeah.
Did you see Miss Universe? Because our moms are religious when it comes to beauty pageants, right? Growing up. And I feel like we know this and then we still want to do it to our kids.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's why breaking down body image by ethnicity is so important because I feel like a lot of times this shit's broken down by eating disorder and age group. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know what an Asian girl went through. I don't know what a Black American girl went through. I don't know what a white girl. I know what I went through. I went through Selena novelas. And let me tell you, it was hard. It was so hard. And then, trying to have a certain body or else you were bullied because it's like, you don't look like the girls in the novelas. And it's just kind of like, and then we put that on our daughters. And then now what happens? Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of like, I mean, I don't like guys who are buff. I think I like fluffy guys, right? But growing up, it was the same thing. The guys in the novelas were really handsome. We lived in an era of boy bands. Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
There is nothing wrong with that, right? But that's not what I go for. So, but a lot of girls, but girls used to cry when they saw these guys in concerts. And then you created that image in your head that we expected any other guy to have. And then they didn't. So then like, that's why it's so important to break down everything by generation and by ethnicity because everything was different. It used to be cool to be flat with nothing at one point.
Like tall and skinny and just like model.
Yeah. And then like in my era, like I used to get bullied for, developing a little faster than other girls. And now it's like, praise God that I did because saved a lot of money, like Geico. So it's like one of those things, but every generation changes. So how are people going to continue changing who they are based on the generation? Like, why don't we change like the way people look at us instead of how we look for people? Does that make sense? So,
totally.
So, I mean, I don't have a daughter, praise God, nor do I want one. But I can't even imagine in today's age what those little girls see.
Yeah.
I see moms on TikTok all the time and I'm shook.
Yeah. I see some of the stuff that she watches and, she does like to dance a lot. So that was the one thing where I was like, oh, cool. But, yeah, it is, they're growing up really, really fast. And, but I understand what, you're talking about. My mom was like queen of her town. Shout out to my mom. I love you.
So was my mom.
So
that was part of the problem.
Yeah, my mom was like, she went to like etiquette school. So she like sits up straight all the time.
Oh my gosh.
She used to like
hit you in your back. My mom used to do that too.
No, well, she never hit me, but she did like when she did housework, like cleaning and stuff, she could do it in high heels. She always like looked her best. She was a secretary. And it was just like I am like the total opposite. I slouch, you know, I probably look really sloppy in heels now, and it's just no. I'm not my mom, and she has really high standards for all of that. Even though she was a sweetheart, she never forced me, but I would definitely look at my mom and say, "Wow, like how is it that you do this?" And she's like, "It's easy," and I'm like, "No, it's not," But um, we're all different, and I think that in my case, I was really lucky because my mom wasn't very pushy. She was always like, do what you want, be who you want to be. Just always make sure you don't hurt yourself and you don't hurt others. So those were, really amazing words that my mom always told me. And but yeah, I mean, when I would, my grandma was the one that was more of like, you have to be queen and you have to,
Yeah.
follow in these generational things that, were happening in my mom's hometown and stuff. And I was
See, my
like,
mom was the opposite. She used to put these weird face masks on my face, and she wouldn't let me eat certain things. And then she would literally, if I sat like Sal, she would hit me on my back. And then like, whatever. So that was like one thing. But now that I'm older, it's like I thought I was done with it. But shout out to Netflix for doing Narcos. Every time I tell someone I'm from Sinaloa, there's this expectation
yeah,
of what I should look like, right? Because of the how they created Narcos and how they created females from Sinaloa, and it's really like annoying, honestly. Because if you go to Sinaloa, we don't all look like that, and it's like an expectation that sometimes when like if you're from Sinaloa and you don't look a certain way based on a Netflix soap opera, it's kind of like you're irrelevant. And it's like they're human,
yeah,
and these are actresses, and then these other girls that do look like that on social media are all done based on a show that was created on Netflix, and now it's like this whole thing where like you're like, oh, you're from Sinaloa, oh, you must have a bad temper, and you must be this, and it's like from a show.
yeah,
That's what you get from a
yeah.
show.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this. I want to get some like you know, some Chicanos in here, some like Latin American people who go through this. I go through this a lot where
You're too
it's
white.
I'm too white to be Mexican and I'm too Mexican to be white. So I'm not American enough and I'm not Mexican enough. And I also get the like, where are you from?
Jalisco.
And I'm like, I'm from California. And they're like, no, 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 but like, where are you really from? And I'm like, La Puente, and they're like, no, 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 but like, where? I'm like, where are my parents from? And they're like, yeah. So even though I have that background and I have a lot of their culture, I was born and raised in California,
Right.
so that's where I'm from.
But I think that happens to every culture, not just like us as Mexicans. I feel like you're either too dark or you're too light, and I feel like Black American girls go through the same thing. It's like the light skinned girls, and like I remember a long time ago, like there was a thing that went around about like Kelly Rowlands and Beyonce, right?
Hmm.
And someone made a comment saying that the only reason Kelly Rowland wasn't able to get to where Beyonce was because Beyonce was light, and at that time lighter black women were more appreciated,
And black men.
and black men, well,
Hmm. Light
men
skin.
for them, yeah,
Yeah.
and black men. But it's the same thing in the Latino culture, right? Like you're dark, and then they're like, oh, los son unos inditos, which means they're Indian, right? Because of our Aztec and Mayan bloodline. And then kind of and then if you're too light, the darker ones are like, oh, they're not even them Spaniards. And it's like, we need to get past that. Like at the end of the day, we're from the same country. Literally, they try to kick us all out, not just the dark ones or the light ones. All of us.
All of us.
Ho.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important to bring so many different cultures, because sometimes we think we're the only ones to go through it. Oh, Latinos. Oh, and it's like we're not the only ones that go through it, right? So
Hmm.
we need to understand all of that, and try to find common ground,
Yes.
right? Like, and hopefully I mean, we might not be able to do it, but we're going to plant the seed, right? To where people can finally be like, well, I don't care if you're a light Mexican or a dark Mexican, we're all Mexican, right?
Hmm.
And it's something that we shouldn't even be talking about, honestly, like for real.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're still talking about, and it's just sad. Like it's like the human brain doesn't develop to a point where it's like, can we just move forward? And then it keeps happening and happening. And again, we need to figure it out because our children shouldn't go through the trauma that we're going through. And it's the generation curse. We need to break it
Mm-hmm.
for them to
Yeah,
give them a better future and
definitely.
to hand over a better earth that we have created. But
And I think there's a lot of shift going on, which is, 10 years ago, we weren't having this conversation,
no.
and I think now is such a good time to give people that platform because there's so many people out there that kind of had like a wake up call
Mm-hmm.
just out of nowhere. A lot of people say, oh, things happen when you are, some trauma happens. No, I think now people are just kind of having this wake up call by just waking up one day and saying, yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I can't live like this. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the way, you know, um, the vibe is in my house. Like, I don't, I feel like my friends are not my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I, it's, it's a great, for me as a person who is all about, shifting and changing the mindset and, love and unconditional love and being, and gratitude and all of that. I think it's great. And I think this platform is amazing. And by the way, we're Mexican, but we love all cultures.
Mm-hmm.
We love everyone.
That's yeah.
And this is definitely a place where we are super excited to have as many different cultures as possible because we want to learn. We want to learn with our audience. We want to learn with you. We are here to learn. So
Yes.
we're not here to teach. We're here to learn. And we want to learn from everybody because it's an amazing experience. It's very humbling to be able to uh, sit here and allow that space for them, So I feel really lucky. I know, Ruby, you are super excited about this, and it's a really big dream of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
again,
I just want everyone to understand each other. A lot of it has to do with misunderstanding.
yeah.
And I think I'm very like outspoken and sometimes I say things and people are like, yo, she's crazy. Shout out to Kanye. But I say things with love and I say it exactly from my heart. I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't lie. I don't say anything I'm gonna say behind, someone. But like Vanessa said, I want to learn. There's things
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. There's times that I've made mistakes by judging people based on what I think I know and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I lived in Inglewood for a time, and then I lived in Linwood for a time, and then I lived in Vegas, and that doesn't mean that it gives me the right to say I know what people in low poverty homes go through because, regardless of if we lived in a one bedroom apartment, there was still a level of joy at that time in my life that, my mom made happen. And that's just like how I am. Like, I just want to know, and I don't want it to be sad. And sometimes it sounds like I'm not serious. I'm always serious. I'm about my business. No, I'm just kidding. I'm always serious, but I don't want it to be all sad. Like, I don't want anyone to be like, man, this is sad.
This is one
Right.
sad ass
But
podcast.
this is like the saddest, and then like watch it every Wednesday with a box of tissue. Like, that's not what this is. It's educational. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want this to be as educational for everyone as possible. Especially like we're going to have a show on like parents who have mixed children. Like, I know there's stuff that goes behind that I don't understand, right? So there's gonna be a show on it because I want to know how it feels to have a biracial child, and we still shouldn't have that conversation, but it's still a conversation, right? And I have mixed friends who it's kind of like you got to pick a side, and it's like why? Like, why can't you have the best of every world, right? Like, I'm not even Asian, and I eat Asian food every day. Like, if I was mixed, it's like a privilege, right? But society has like engraved this in these children. Like, they got to pick a side when both of your parents are a different thing. I don't understand it. I want to understand it. I want to know where it comes from. Do you know what I mean? So, I think that's why I'm so excited about it because I'm like ready to go in. Not everyone's gonna like me. Not everyone has to like me, but I want to know. Like, I want to understand. So when I do volunteer with foster kids, I understand those kids. When I do volunteer with human trafficking, I understand those kids in human trafficking because I don't think we realize a lot of these kids who are in the streets, a lot of them belong to a foster care. There is no help after 18. And we don't know that and we turn our back on these kids. So it's like one of those things like I just have a lot of questions, you know, and I
Like
want to
a lot of other people.
yes.
Yes.
And I want to ask these questions, and I want people to ask these questions because you will be able to call in once the people are here and the shows start really rolling out and we have the guests here. You are able to call in, and we want you to call in because, I don't have all the answers and I don't have all the questions, and that's what the show is for. Um, Clearly, we're never going to have all the answers, but that is actually why we're here. And I just want whoever comes on the show to just be really open and, whatever you feel like, let's talk about it and let's just figure it out. Figure it out and see what we can do for the next generation so we won't have to be going through this far left, far right. You're dumb. I'm dumb. He's dumb. She's dumb because of who we voted for. Like, this is just ridiculous. We got to move forward and we got to make this country better because this is the land of the free. And I do not feel very free when I'm giving my opinion. So,
yeah,
we got to figure this out.
Unlike you, I'm the opposite.
Very.
I'm really quiet. I usually, if I really believe in something, I will speak up and I do stand my ground. But for the most part, I let people talk and then I'm just like, okay, I observe. I'm more of an observer, but I do have a lot of information in my head, and I think that I also want to learn, and I have a lot of questions, and for me, I do have a lot of textbook information, but because I'm not as open and don't go out and talk to many people, this is going to be a great experience, even for myself, to be able to, ask those questions that I can't ask a textbook.
Right. And you have to ask the person who lived there, right? Like, we keep allowing people that don't live it to tell the story. And like, this is probably going to be a low blow, but I need like Mortal Kombat was so horrible because the person that directed it had no idea about that culture. So we need people who understand and know the culture to be the ones taking over so we can understand and we can know the culture and we can embrace it, because I'm so tired. Like, this is what I learned, and I learned this from a pastor. His name is D.A. Horton. We have this thing as Christians that we will want to say, oh, I'm colorblind, right? Because it's like religiously correct. Oh, I'm colorblind. And he's like, no, why are we colorblind? Embrace it. Don't dumb it down. Right? Like, educate yourself on the colors, love them, embrace them, be part of them. The whole, oh my, I don't see color. It's the way of saying, like, I'm just not going to touch the subject because I don't want to get in trouble. Right. But that woke me up because I used to be one of those people that used to be like, I don't see color. And it's like, I do, and I love it. I wouldn't want to change it. Music, culture, food, history. Like, why wouldn't we want to see color? But we just need to be more accepting of it and understanding of it. And that's what I'm excited about. And like, if you're going to come on the show and you're from a different culture, you're more than welcome to bring food.
And let us try it, please. We love to eat.
So we can rate it. We can critique it. If you want to bring, I don't know what you guys drink. If you, rum, tequila, whatever comes from your nation, I will be more than happy to try it for you as well. Any, clothing stuff, anything you guys want to bring to share, to show people, please bring it, especially food. I know I said food, but I'm going to say food again. Bring it. Again, if you know anyone who's interested in speaking their truth, anyone who feels like there's something that we're missing, something that can contribute, please let us know and send this. We already have a couple people for the next 2-3 shows that will be here on body image, from other cultural backgrounds that are not Latinos, to tell their story and how they were raised. So we're really excited about that. One of them will be via FaceTime, so she can bring food and she can bake. So I'm kind of sad. And then the other person, they should be bringing food. I hope so. So, and we're gonna just go ahead and shift every week. We're gonna have different hosts. This is why it's only 2 of us, so we can invite those extra people. And again, please let us know. I know there's a phone number for, if you can see it on the screen. That's going to be the phone number that you guys are going to be able to call moving forward when people do come on the show. And if you have any questions or any suggestions,
ask away.
Yes, please.
Fill our show.
Yes. And then share, of course. This is educational. I know it's a lot of times it's easier to share things that aren't educational. It's so much fun when you share a fight, which is also dividing us. It's so much fun so much easier to share, girls that are thick and music videos and Drake's new album and Kanye's new album and Nas' album's okay. But it's like share things that are educational. Like don't say you want to make a difference and when you have the chance to make a difference, you turn the other way because that is what humans tend to do. Everyone wants to make a difference. Everyone wants to join a cause. And then when it comes to being part of the cause, no one does anything. And that's just what I have an issue with people who want to argue and don't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So just let us know. We're all ears.
We are.
And we hope to hear from a lot of you guys in our social medias. I don't know what to say.
Follow me at Vonnebaum, Instagram. It's the only platform that I have right now. But follow me. I usually put stuff on there, inspirational stuff. Some of my the things that I believe in, I post on there. But if you have any questions, you can, DM me there for following shows or anything like that. As well as Ruby. Here you can follow her.
Yeah, you can follow me on IG. On it's Soy La Misma Ruby. I know it's kind of long, but you can see it on the screen. Also, for the podcast, is breaking_apart_pod. So that's going to be breaking_apart_pod. And that's going to be the Instagram for the podcast. That's where we're going to be posting who's going to be on the show, the next show, or anything, whether we do volunteer work or, anything like that. That's where it's going to be posted. So you guys can follow all 3 of those platforms.
Yes. And guys, thank you for being patient.
Oh,
this is our first time.
And don't forget to follow Vegas Hype Media as well. Thanks, Quan. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.